All right, before we get started with our explainer today, I actually want you to just take a breath. Seriously, let the lights go down in your mind for a second. We are exploring a subject today that taps into something incredibly primal, something deeply, unshakably eerie. We're going to completely dissect an absolute nightmare of a story, a legend that has literally slithered through our collective consciousness for decades now, mutating, adapting, but never truly dying. Today, we're taking a long, hard look at the legendary killer in the backseat. I want you to picture this. You're working late, the building is totally empty, the parking lot is completely desolate, and it's illuminated by just a single flickering street lamp. You walk to your car, your footsteps are echoing, you unlock the door, slide into the driver's seat, and just, breathe a sigh of relief. You're safe, right? The doors lock with that reassuring click. But are you actually safe? Ask yourself right now, have you checked your backseat today? Because the entire premise of our analysis rests on this one terrifying reality, that the space right behind your head is a total blind spot. So let's set the stage with a classic narrative. It's midnight, you're on an isolated highway, and you are driving alone. The darkness outside is absolute, just pressing against the glass. The only thing tethering you to civilization is the weak sweep of your headlights on the asphalt. This profound isolation is literally the perfect incubator for fear. You're completely reliant on this little metal box to protect you from the unknown. But what happens when the unknown is already inside the box with you? The core DNA of the classic high beams legend operates in 3 absolutely ruthless steps. Step 1, the solitary drive, in the dark, just like we talked about. Step 2, the rising tension. A truck pulls up really close behind you. Suddenly, its high beams flash, completely flooding your car with blinding light. The truck tailgates you aggressively, practically ramming your bumper. At this point, you're terrified, convinced this driver is a total maniac trying to run you off the road. So you finally pull into a gas station or a well-lit driveway, screaming for help, and then comes step 3, the terrifying reveal. The driver of the truck rushes up to you and says, "I wasn't trying to hurt you, I was trying to save you." It turns out, every single time those high beams flashed, it was to startle a man hiding in your back seat who kept rising up with an axe, ready to strike. Okay, moving into our first main section, searching for true origins, blood never lies. Let's really dive into this. The initial shock of the story is fantastic, obviously, but my job today is to turn on the lights and actually dissect the monster. Where did this horrifying piece of folklore actually come from? Well, notice the stark contrast between the messy reality and the perfectly crafted fiction. The legend was first documented academically around 1968 by a folklorist named Carlos Drake out in Utah. But researchers point to a crazy real-life catalyst. Back in 1964 in New York City, an escaped murderer actually did hide in the backseat of a car. But here is the critical difference. The driver wasn't some helpless, isolated victim. It was a plainclothes police detective. When the detective discovered the intruder, he simply pulled out his gun and shot the murderer dead. End of story. But, reality is a bit too clinical for a good ghost story. Over time, word of mouth heavily embellished the event, transforming the armed cop into an unaware female driver and turning a botched carjacking into an atmospheric horror masterpiece. So why did that specific embellishment catch on like wildfire? Well, look at this number, 215. By 1970, the rate of aggravated assaults in New York had absolutely skyrocketed to 215 per 100,000 people. That was up significantly from just a few years prior. The late 60s and early 70s were an era of intense, rising urban anxiety. People were terrified of random, senseless violence, and the killer in the backseat legend provided a perfectly tailored vessel for all this societal paranoia. It aggressively spread because it validated what people were already feeling deep down, that danger was literally everywhere, and no one was truly safe.
But we do have to acknowledge something incredibly creepy. The line between folklore and reality is incredibly blurry. Take the incident on March 22, 2013 in Hammond, Indiana. This isn't some dusty myth from the 60s. A 22-year-old man physically hid in the back of a woman's minivan while she was at a gas station. When she drove away, completely unaware, he emerged, abducted, and assaulted her before later surrendering to the police. Now, while these true incidents are exceedingly rare, they do happen. And it's this tiny, terrible kernel of truth that keeps the legend alive in our minds today. It tells our brains, hey, this isn't just a ghost story. This is a highly plausible scenario. Which brings us right into section 2, the anatomy of the fear and the psychology of the back seat.
So why does this specific legend completely bypass all of our rational logic and trigger such primal survival instincts? The engine driving this whole thing is confirmation bias. Basically, we selectively interpret and share stories that validate our deepest, darkest fears. The backseat is a space we just can't easily see while we're focusing on the road ahead. It represents a total loss of control. When we hear this legend, our amygdala, that's the fear center of the brain, just lights up like a Christmas tree. Even if the statistical probability of a hatchet-wielding maniac chilling in our Honda Civic is virtually zero, our confirmation bias kicks right in. We obsessively lock the doors and check the rearview mirror because the story aligns perfectly with our evolutionary instinct to scan our environment for hidden predators. And this brilliantly illustrates that the phenomenon goes far beyond just spooky campfires. Academics literally dedicate entire dissertations to this stuff. Researchers like Gianna Targonsky-Stefan have extensively analyzed contemporary urban legends. Stefan's work on legends in liquid modernity treats these stories as serious, hard sociological data. By applying critical discourse analysis, researchers prove that urban legends are essentially a giant mirror. They reflect the hidden, unspoken cultural anxieties of the exact time period they happen to be circulating in.
Academic research really hits the nail on the head here, pointing out that the unknown threat in the back seat symbolizes unseen fears and hidden dangers in familiar places, completely challenging our sense of safety. Think about it. Your personal car is basically an extension of your home. It's a massive symbol of autonomy, safety, and control. When a killer breaches the backseat, it violently ruptures that illusion of safety. The horror isn't just the threat of physical violence, it's the profound psychological violation of your personal sanctuary.
And now we arrive at a truly fascinating sociological layer, the illusion of female autonomy. Folklorist Diane Tai analyzed dozens of variations of these legends and found a really striking pattern. The victim in the story is almost universally a woman, driving alone. Meanwhile, the hero, the truck driver flashing the high beams or the gas station attendant, is almost always a man. Emerging strongly in the 1960s and 70s, which was a time of massively expanding female independence and mobility, this legend acted as a sort of subconscious cultural backlash. It was essentially a cautionary tale whispering to society that a woman venturing out into the world alone was inherently vulnerable, repeatedly positioning her as a passive target, requiring male intervention to survive. It's a wild thing to realize when you look back at it.
All right, moving into section 3, mutations of a myth and how fear evolves.
So, a good legend never stays stagnant, right? It survives by adapting. This story is an incredibly resilient cultural virus. Back in the 1960s, it was an escaped mental patient with a hatchet on a dark road. By the 1980s, as suburbs grew and people took way more road trips, the setting shifted to the urban gas station. Fast forward to the late 1990s, with the dawn of the internet, the legend mutated into frantic chain emails warning of gang initiations at the gas pump. And today, right now in the 2020s, the terror has gone completely digital. The fear manifests as fake text messages mimicking police alerts about backseat assailants or paranoia surrounding rideshare apps. The core terror remains exactly identical, only the delivery system gets an upgrade. Notice the distinct narrative shifts here. In the classic highway version, the warning mechanism is the pursuing car's high beams. It's kinetic, it's fast-paced, it's an escalating chase in the dark. But contrast that with the urban gas station version. Here, the driver pulls in for gas, the attendant spots the killer hiding in the back but acts totally calm. He tells the driver her credit card was declined and asks her to step inside the booth to sort it out. Once she's inside, he locks the door and screams, "There's a man in your car." The whole setting shifts from the terror of isolation on the open road to the terror of proximity in an everyday, mundane location. And that leads us perfectly into section 4, Hollywood Takes a Ride, the legend on screen. Naturally, an anxiety this potent was bound to be monetized. The entertainment industry recognized the sheer, visceral power of this legend and brilliantly weaponized our societal fear for pure popcorn entertainment. The sheer scale of this legend's influence on screen is staggering. As far back as 1959, The Twilight Zone alluded to a woman killed by a man in her back seat. In 1978's Halloween, the legendary John Carpenter used this exact setup to terrifying effect when Michael Myers slashes Annie from the backseat of her car. We see it in the 1983 anthology Nightmares. It literally opens the 1998 slasher film Urban Legend, featuring an amazing, terrifying scene with Brad Dourif as the frantic gas station attendant. It's parodied in Scream Queens, featured in The Simpsons, and used as a plot device in literally countless detective shows. Hollywood loves it because it's an instantly relatable, claustrophobic setup that requires almost zero exposition to make an audience hold their breath. But perhaps the greatest modern immortalization of this legend's moral lesson comes from the 2009 film Zombieland. The main character, Columbus, survives the zombie apocalypse by adhering to a very strict set of rules. Rule number 10 is simply check the damn back seat. It's played for laughs for sure, but it is highly effective. It perfectly distills 50 years of folklore into a single punchy directive. It reinforces the eternal lesson of situational awareness. Never ever assume you are safe, even in your own vehicle.
So, we've tracked this incredible legend all the way from its murky origins in New York police reports to its explosion in viral chain emails. We've unraveled its psychological grip on our survival instincts, and we've seen its total dominance on the silver screen. We've brought the monster right out into the light. But, knowing how the trick works doesn't always stop your heart from racing, does it? I'm gonna leave you with this final thought. Soon, you're gonna go back to your day, and eventually you will have to walk to your car, alone, in the dark. When you slide your key into the ignition, are you absolutely sure you're alone?